Good evening, welcome to ITV News. This is Thursday night's calendar with Katy Rickitt and Duncan Wood.
Here are tonight's main stories. First tonight, as police teams hunting for clues into the disappearance of Claudia Lawrence end their third day of searching woodlands and ponds at Sandhut and gravel pits on the outskirts of York, detectives say they're looking into new information they've received since the operation started.
Yes, our cameras were allowed beyond the police cordon today to capture more footage of the search taking place, while senior officers from North Yorkshire Police, who are leading the inquiry, stayed away from the scene to assess what they've discovered in the last couple of days. Well, Rachel Bullock has been.
Next tonight, as the crisis in Afghanistan intensifies, there were two explosions today near the airport and a hotel. Back in Yorkshire, the mother of a soldier who was killed in the conflict in 2012 says she now feels her son's death was in vain.
Yes, Gareth Thursby died in a so-called green-on-black attack by a rogue Afghan policeman. Today, ahead of a charity football match in Leeds in memory of Yorkshire's fallen, Caroline Whittaker says she believes nothing has changed since British and US troops entered the country 20 years ago. Sally Simpson has the story.
Yeah, you may remember last week I spoke to a student called Arifa in Kabul. She didn't want to be identified at the time, but was desperately hoping for her dreams of taking up a scholarship scheme at York University weren't simply going to be quashed. Well, despite the challenges, she made it, along with a group of other students, helped by the British Embassy. Now free from the Taliban, she can finally show us her face. She spoke to me earlier from a hotel where she's quarantining ahead of finally coming to Yorkshire. The event is due to attract 90,000 fans over 3 days, but those going through the gates will have to prove they don't have coronavirus. David Hurst has more.
Well, next tonight to the huge effect of the pandemic on NHS waiting times as the country battles the deadliest pandemic in more than a century.
The knock-on effect means that the waiting times for non-COVID treatments are now really piling up. One of those affected is Bally Sandhu from Leeds, who's now been taken off the list for a much-needed kidney transplant.
Well, this evening's Tonight programme here on ITV features stories of some patients having to wait, believe this or not, up to 6 years for consultations and surgeries. Well, the show has been looking at just how big the challenge will be to clear the backlog, as Nick Smith now reports.
Still to come.
John, we won't. Now as schools get ready to start a new academic year, a survey suggests half of parents don't feel enough is being done to help children catch up after disruption caused by COVID-19. Many want to see the school day lengthened to increase learning time for their children.
Well, there's also support for maintaining the system of teacher assessment for grades, which was brought in after many exams were cancelled because of the pandemic. Now, the government says it's committed to what it calls an ambitious education recovery plan. For a bit more, here's Kevin Ashford.
Well, the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30 with Lucrezia.
Well, John's in the studio with us now. John, it's Leeds Festival this weekend.
No. You might want to take an extra layer, because you're going, aren't you?
Yeah.
You might want to take an extra layer, because rather, of course, that's entirely up to you.
Well,
but
I think it's been an awful summer. But
no.
I can't remember.
Now, and Leeds United striker Patrick Bamford has received his first call-up to the England squad. The upcoming World Cup qualifiers, the 27-year-old.
The Leeds Rhinos have moved into the playoff positions in Super League after picking up their first win at the Wigan Warriors for 8 years.
To the Paralympics now, and Kadina Cox from Leeds is hoping to become a double Paralympic champion on the cycling track when she starts her events in the early hours of tomorrow morning. Now, she'll do her very, very best. Well, Paralympics GB has already got 17 medals. The aim is to get between 100 and 140 over the next 10 days of competition. And Kadina isn't the only athlete from our region expected to win back-to-back medals.
There's also high expectations on the shoulders of Hannah Cockcroft from Halifax, who already has 5 gold medals under her belt from the last 2 games.
The Hurricane, as she is very well known, is aiming to add 2 more to her impressive collection in Tokyo, as Chris Dawkes found out before she got on the plane to Japan.
Well, just before we go, do join us tomorrow when I'll be presenting part of the programme live from Leeds Festival. Now, we'll be looking at some of the serious questions about safety at festivals like this, but of course we'll also be sucking up the atmosphere after the festival takes place for the first time in 2 years. What's the weather like? Here's John. Well, that is it from us. Our next update is at 10:30.
The national and international stories are next with Lucrezia Millery.
But for now, from all of us here on the Calendar team, thanks ever so much for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Good night.